So isolated environments is maybe not something you think of so much with the R. It's probably more well known in Python and Julia, but you can also use isolated environments with R, and they solve some problems. That is, for instance, you can install other versions, older versions to them, without them interfering with the rest of all the packages and things you have. And you can, for instance, create one for each of your projects, and then it's maybe easier for you because you don't have to remember which project used what, and also it's easier if it uses the same R version but uses different versions of the packages, then it's difficult. Whereas with isolated environments, you can solve that. And it's easy to remove an isolated environment and then create a new one if you need it, or if you don't need it anymore, if there were errors in it. And the renv package is fairly new, so it doesn't actually exist everywhere. Last time we ran this course, the version of R that was at HPC2N did not have renv, so we need to install it ourselves. It has been installed there now, but it's not there at the Tetralit, I believe it was. So there you have to install it yourself. And the question here is, how do you work with isolated R environments and these centers? And I will give a very general introduction to isolated environments and also show an example where you install an R package to an isolated environment. So this is cool. Okay, now and then you have a situation where you have a project that uses different versions of R and different versions of packages. And this is good if you need different versions of a package or a different task. And you solve that easily, as I said, with isolated environments, because you can create separate workspaces for them. And then activate and deactivate them one at a time, the same way as you may have seen with Python or Julia. And then when you are working in one, it's as if the other one does not exist. So the idea is that you should be able to work exactly as you would normally. Library path and things like that should also work within it. And the tools you have used before, like installing packages, work as they did before. And RStudio also has an introduction at the page to renv. So the general workflow when you're working with renv is that you call renv init from inside of R to initialize a new project. And then you work in the project, installing things as usual. Then you can do renv snapshot to save the state to a log file. It will be called renv log. You continue working on your project, installing stuff. You can do the snapshot again to save. And then later you can use renv restore to revert to a previous state. And simply work in it as normal and also save it. And this renv init function, it should ensure that newly created projects include all the R packages that are currently used. So if you already have loaded something or installed something, then that will be included. And it does that by going through the R files in the projects for dependencies with the renv dependency function. And it then puts these discovered packages in a place where it can see them. And it uses a function called renv hydrate, which isn't very important. But it is useful because then you don't have to later copy them there, since you already have found them in the beginning. So that's why one of the reasons you are doing renv init. And it also writes out the infrastructure of it. So it will know how to load and use any private libraries for the new R sessions that you launch from there. And you can handle this by create a project local.r profile if you want to, or otherwise just create a directory that you are working. That is usually the easy way to do that. So I guess I will try and do an example so that you can see what happens. And there are examples here if you want to type along. And we're going to try and install a package called Knita. And well, let's try and work in the Teflonit just for the fun of it. I think that was the one that did not have our end. Yep. So I guess I should do it at SPC2N as an example of where it is installed, and at the NSC as an example where it's not installed. So first, let's go ahead and create a directory where we will work in. And I will just check where I am. I'm in my home directory. I'm going to go to the project storage. This into my own directory there. And then I'm going to create the directory of project. This. And now I'm going to go and do the same thing in C. Okay. And now I am here in my project storage. I'm going to create directory project. And then I'm going to change to it. This line here does all of these steps in one. You can see here I'm now in an empty directory. And I will see if I have loaded the things I want to have loaded. And I have. This is all stuff that gets loaded when you load R. I'd like to turn that when you load R at SPC2N or at any of the other centers, it goes ahead and loads a lot of other things that are used by R. So that's fine. But I'm now going to start R. And then when I'm inside of R, I'm going to initialize this isolated environment with rn init, this. And this was one of the R versions that did not have R in it, so I am going to go and go differently. Let's go ahead and take what we want. Let's see if that works. This here. Yes, it is. That is good. Okay, so I will load that one. Control and initialize. And now it works. You can see it initializes the project, discovers package dependencies, and copies them to the cache. And when I've done that, I should quit R, as it tells me to restart it. Do that. And I'm now going to also check how it is at Matlab it. Nope, there's no package. So instead, I am going to install the package. Even though it is really oh, it's so while it's installing here, you can see here I didn't give the repository, so because of that, it gives me a list I can pick from. I'm going to pick Sweden, and then it will install. Meanwhile, I will work here at the SPC2N. I am here. I have just initialized my project, and I quit, and then I will write ls -l so that you can see it has created this project, the isolated environment, and it also has a log file, as we talked about before. So now I will relaunch R and print like that, and then I will look at the path for the libraries and see if it is actually seeing them. And you can see it does. It has this one, which is for the whole site, and this one, which is created for this R environment. So these are the places it will now look for packages and libraries. And this here, the first one, is where it will install. If you install something to it. So now I will install packages. And install Knitter. This. And it goes ahead and does that. Meanwhile, our env has been installed here at the NAISS. So I can go ahead and initialize the environment there as well. And as you can see, it did that. This. And then let's try and say ls. And it has, just like at the SPC2N, now created the R environment. And it is looking in the directories it should. So let's try and install this. This. And it has finished at SPC2N. So I'm going to exit R. And I will check inside this directory here to see what has been installed. And you can see there is now a whole bunch of directories. And all the way in here, you'll see that here is Knitter. And the canvas, what's it called? At sign, whatever, at the end here. That means that it's a symbolic link. And that means it's pointing to the place it actually installed Knitting. And that is in this directory here. So that is where it actually put it, but it put a symbolic link from it here. So you can work with it. So that is good. It's installed and it's accessible. And if you want to use this isolated environment later, then you need to either stand in this directory. So you need to be somewhere below this directory are the project that you just created, whatever you call it. When you want to use it, you have to be inside of that, or you can activate it with this command here from inside your R script or in a batch script. And if you want to, you could try and also install the package Daterium. And it's a good idea to do it now, because otherwise you will need it later, because we are going to use it in the section machine learning and R. So try and install Daterium also. And you can either install it to an R isolated environment as we did here, or if you want to, you can also go ahead and install it as a regular package outside of it. So, just going to check this in the chat. Someone has problems with the nuggets module.
Hi, yes, I'm having issues with it. It's I'm running it in, I've made all the folders. I checked with the ls function and I can run the function, but then it stops halfway. It's just rerunning again now. So
Where are you?
I am I'll just share my screen. Oh, no, I can't. You are doing. I am in R.
No, sorry, which center are you at?
Which step?
Center.
Center
HPC to NS. LUNARC.
LUNARC.
Yes, you're at LUNARC.
Yeah.
Are you installing from inside of R?
Yes. It says like some. Okay, I'll just get the error message. I'll just wait for it to load it. And
otherwise, take the error message and put it in the Q&A document, and I will take a look at it in a very short time.
Okay, thank you.
But try, for everyone else, try install Daterium, either in the environment here, or maybe it's easier to just install it regularly outside of the isolated environment, because you need it for the ML with R section. And then there's also a quick section here about Conda. Conda, again, is something you may know from Python, but that also can be used with R. And if you are at UPPMAX or one of the other centers that use Conda, then you can follow this example here to install to an isolated environment with Conda instead. And for many people, that might be easier, because it's not bound to the module system, for instance. But that also is something that means it doesn't always work well with the modules. And that means, for instance, at HPC2N, Conda is not recommended because it clashes with our module system. And we suggest using isolated environments instead. But at most of the other centers, Conda should work well. Okay, so the key points here. With a virtual environment, you can tailor your environment to specific versions of R and packages without interfering with other installed versions. And you can make one for each project for reproducibility. And most of the centers also have Conda as an alternative. And it's now 12 o'clock, so we should probably have lunch. But I would say that make sure you at least get the Therium installed and also try and create one of these virtual environments with R to see how it looks. And then we will be back at 1 o'clock